agenda. We are joined now by a very distinguished colleague and my colleague on the House Judiciary Committee, Steve Cohen of Tennessee, and I would like to yield to him at this point, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Raskin. I appreciate it. I'm a little late, and I don't know exactly what's been discussed, but I serve on Judiciary Committee with you. And what we've seen in Judiciary Committee is scary. I'm honored to be a member of the United States Congress, honored to be an American citizen. And I see a threat to the independence of the United States Congress in upholding its oath and looking out for the best interests of its people and to our country. I have Republican friends, as you do, on the other side of the aisle. And I know that they, and in representing their constituents, are not fond of the totalitarian Russian government and philosophy that threatens NATO countries like Lithuania and Estonia and Latvia and Ukraine, Georgia, with the power of the Russian military. They do not like democracy. They don't like America. They don't like what we represent. They don't like freedom of press. They don't like freedom of religion. They don't like freedoms of elections. They don't have really free elections. They say, but they kill their opponents, and they put them in jail on trumped-up charges, and they count the votes. There's nothing good about Russia in regards of democracy and even what's in their constitution after they formed a country after the Soviet Union fell apart. And our Republican colleagues are like sheep following the president in attacking the FBI and attacking the Justice Department and attacking heroic Americans who have risked their lives in the FBI and heroic Americans like Robert Mueller, who served in Vietnam and risked his life and was wounded there, I believe. And they threaten them and talk to them as if they are complicit with the Clinton campaign in trying to do something to harm President Trump. Mr. Mueller is a Republican appointed first by Republican Bush and then later by Democrat Obama. He is as fine a human being as I've come in contact with in my 11 years in the Congress, and maybe as fine a human being as I've come in contact with in my 68 years on earth. Mr. Rosenstein said glowing things about him yesterday, and how heroic he is, how strong he is, how dedicated he is, how patriotic he is, how honest he is. And for the Republicans to be trying to take this man down and to take down others that serve in the FBI, the only reason they're doing this is because they are finding information in their charge that implicate the President of the United States in activities that are questionable as far as his oath of office and border on treason. And because of that, they attack the FBI, which is the top layer, the cream of the crop of law enforcement. The President goes out and talks about our wonderful first responders, but the top of the line he's against because they question him. And that's when your country no longer exists, when it's all about the leader, not about institutions, and not about other individuals who are doing their jobs in a proper manner. FBI Director Wray said nothing but good things about Robert Mueller. I think Robert Mueller's job is in jeopardy from this president who likes to fire people, which is what he did on television, and he still thinks he's on television. It's a big performance art. It's all about performance art, and the star is Donald Trump. And he acts, and he's the show, and the show goes on. And there's nothing else. And to fire Mueller is part of the show. And to question what he's done in arresting Manafort and Gates, guilty pleas, I think from one of the gentlemen he arrested was a go ahead, tell
George
me.
Papadopoulos.
Papadopoulos. And then a guilty plea from Flynn. They don't plead guilty unless they're guilty. So Mueller's doing his job. He's trying to protect America. I think he's the man of the year and will be the man of the year next year. And he's the one person between us and a kleptocracy, and group of oligarchs, but kleptocrats who are using their positions in government to benefit themselves financially and to build up their wealth. And this tax bill we're talking about is part of the same thing. It's oligarchs. No inheritance tax, meaning they get hundreds of millions of dollars. Hundreds of millions of dollars. And the president goes and says, to a middle-class family earning $75,000, you'll have $2,000 that you can spend any way you want, or you can even save it. $2,000 is tip change at Orange Julius to those people. The big hundreds of millions and hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars is the inheritance tax being repealed and the AMT being repealed and other changes. And then they said, oh, well, we only reduced the tax on the wealthiest from 39% to 37% because they weren't going to get to deduct as much of their state and local taxes, and it was going to hurt them more. Well, there are people who aren't in the top bracket who aren't going to get to reduce their state and local taxes, and they gave them nada. They gave all of it to the wealthiest. And that's what this is about. This is about the wealthiest people taking this country over in an oligarchy, and Trump is representative of them. It's about him. It's not about institutions. It's not about the Constitution. It's not about people. It's not about the First Amendment. And so many of the people that support him are good, hardworking, decent American people that don't want to be in bed with Russia and don't want to give up our democracy and don't want to give up our free elections to hacking and to internet social media games. And that's what we've had. So I thank you for having this special order. I have a bill I took over with from Mr. Conyers with Mr. Walter Jones, a Republican, that says you can't fire Mr. Mueller without cause and gives a redress in court. Sheila Jackson Lee has another. We have to be aware and alert. And if this happens, the people have to let their representatives know, and particularly the Republican representatives know, that they won't stand for it and they won't let another Saturday night massacre. Because Rosenstein said Mr. Mueller's done nothing to be fired. He probably would not fire him, which means Rosenstein will be fired. And that is the end of the rule of law, and that's what makes us different from other countries, makes us different from dictators and autocrats. Thank you, Mr.
Mr. Cohen, thank you very much for your leadership. Thank you for invoking the critical Watergate analogy, the Saturday Night Massacre with the firing of Archibald Cox and other Department of Justice officials who refused